I was born in a little village in the western part of Kenya. A few weeks ago, I was invited to go to a mitzvah. This is when a Jewish boy turns into a man at his 14th birthday. And being a born observer, it was very interesting for me to go in and take a step back and watch how everything was and was being done. And of course, after the ceremony began and people were talking and the uncles, the family members, they were all talking about how great he was. And everything was all about the boy. And to crown the ceremony, the grandfather took his watch that he had been given after serving a corporate company for 40 years just to give it to the boy because he's just turned 40. He's just turned 14. So 40 years of his blood, sweat, and tears being given to this boy because he's just turned 14. And them being people I'm very close to, I was asked to share with them my experience of becoming a man. So we wanted to do a cultural check. It was more or less like a cultural traditional exchange. And they asked me to say a few words to the boys. And I looked at it and I told them, I being born, I remember our mitzvah was a rite of passage, and ours was purely done using circumcision. To become a man, traditionally, as black people, you are born a male, but you have to become a man. And the definition of manhood is a societal definition. It's a community definition, because whatever the needs of the community are, that's what the kind of men that the society or the community has to bring up. And where I come from, at that point, my community needed strong men for protection and strong men for provision. So when my father gave birth to me and my other brothers, our role was already decided by the needs of the community. So it was, my future was planned by where I come from. My father knew that mine is to grow up, become strong, work on the farm, provide for my family, protect my family, get married, have kids, and repeat the process. And that's my definition of manhood. So our definition there was provision, was a man has to provide. Number two is a man has to protect. And number three is a man has to produce. And when we're talking about production, we're talking about producing in terms of others to have enough, and also producing other human beings. So the three P's of productivity, provision, and protection stands. But if we look at the way it is now, so my circumcision was my rite of passage. And like any other, the way we do it at home, you have to be cut off from your community. When the circumciser came, the day when the ceremony started, it started with my father coming to yank me out of bed in the middle of the night, in the darkness, the darkness of, it was even darker than the darkness of the womb of my mother, asking me if I'm ready to become a man. And like any other boy, my father is my hero. The men in my community are my heroes. I've always wanted to be like my father. Of course, I want to impress my father, and I tell him, of course, yes, I want to become a man. So they tell you, come out. You come out, the whole community is out. You and the other little boys that needs to be made men. That is the day when you get circumcised. And to be circumcised, to qualify as a man, is two conditions. One, don't wink. No winking. It doesn't matter how painful it is. Remember, the circumciser is using the traditional blade. When they cut your foreskin, you should not show any signs of pain. And secondly, don't make a noise. Because if you scream or you make a noise, automatically your community, your whole family is going to bring shame on your family, and secondly, your family is going to be excommunicated. Now, most people, when they hear that, they always look at that as being very crude. They always say, that's too much responsibility to be put on a young boy, on a 12-year-old. How can you do that? But it's totally different, because the first lesson you learn there is to become a man, you have to have bigger interest than self-interest. My family, the pride of my family, the safety of my family, and the name of our family became the priority of my existence at that time. And that was the first transition from being a boy to becoming a man. I had to take the pain to make sure that my family does not get excommunicated, my family status does not drop, and my family is not looked down upon by other family members. That was the first sign. So it's not about self, it's about family. It's about the community. It's about the bigger picture. It's about the bigger purpose. That was the first definition of manhood. The second thing they did here is they take you away into the bush. But before you go, after you've just been cut, and remember there's no anesthesia here, you walk forward and your mother and all the women in the village are there. You look at your mother straight in the eyes and you say, from today, I'll never eat any food prepared by a woman's hands. And that's where you transition from being a consumer to a producer. You are saying that from this point forward, I'm going to provide and protect the women in our community. Now, fast forward to where we are when I went to this mitzvah. This 14-year-old boy, everybody's bowing down to him. Why? What has he done that is so selfless for the community to give him all these accolades? He's done nothing. All he's done is turned 14. He's getting a watch that the grandfather is sacrificed 40 years of his life on this planet to give it to him. Everybody is telling him how great he is. And that it brings us close to where we live now as a society. If you look at the traditional African way of rite of passage, manhood was about selflessness, not about selfishness. Manhood was about sacrificing yourself for the sake of others. Manhood was about character. You had to have character for you to be defined a man, not become a character. Now look at our current leaders now. If our current leaders had to go through the system where they had to undergo the rite of passage and become men through the perspective of African tradition, this becomes men that we look up to, men that have become men to fulfill the needs and the problems that our community is going through. The first thing the people in leadership, the people in office, the people in a position of power will do is protect the masses. They're not going to sacrifice us at their expense. A true leader sacrifices himself for others. But we have people in office now that will sacrifice us for them. Now we have a group of people that have intelligence but no integrity. We have a group of people that have vision but no values. We have a group of people right now that are characters but have no character. And that's why you see corruption is rampant. That's why you see people will steal, but will have the nerve to defend stealing. We have a society of people at this point. They will look up to you and call you mzee, call you a leader, because you have money without looking at how you got that money. Traditionally, it was never about the end justifies the means. The means was the end. How did you acquire your wealth? If you acquired your wealth at the expense of the majority of people, you took money to get a contract to build homes for the thousands of the poor people, and you don't build the homes. You pocket the money, and we elect you into office because you have money. Then I think it is us as a society that has failed. It is our values that have failed. Because until we go back to the traditional values, to our values that held us together, we're not going to survive. Because values determine what our purpose are. We need to be a society, a group of people that are bonded together with purpose, not with a common interest. Because interests change. The interest will be this time we want President Zuma in or out. That's an interest. But when he is out, then we have no common purpose. We start fighting among each other. So we need to look at that. So when I was talking to these young men at this mitzvah, one of the things I asked the people in there, when we walked, because it's a very rich family and they have a very lavish establishment. It's a 4,000 square feet penthouse, one of the best homes I've been into. And I told them when we walked in, everybody was walking in and everybody was praising how beautiful the chandeliers are. But nobody said anything of how great the flooring was. But we're forgetting the chandeliers won't exist without the floor, which is the foundation of the house. And the values, our character, which builds a man, is what we need to use in our rite of passage. This boy needs to be looked up to, needs to be praised for his character and his vision, the way he carries himself. Not because it's automatic, because it's become his age. We need to look at it and realize that foundation is everything. Most of us, we have a tendency to praise the chandeliers, but we overlook the ceiling. Ask any government inspector, if he walks into your home and he finds a very big crack in the ceiling, they're not going to condemn that home. But if they find a very big crack on the floor, they will condemn that home because the foundation is flawed. And our foundation as a society is flawed. We need to relook at our values. We need to ask ourselves, how comes teachers, doctors, nurses, paramedics, policemen, the people that hold and glue our society together, they have the lowest earning. And anytime they try to ask for a raise, we tell them they're demanding too much. But we will pay a soccer player $1 million a week, $4-5 million a week. If there is demand for that kind of money to be spent on one person, and there is no money for the people that are building our community, then as a society we have no future. In the age of AI, the only thing that will keep us going is our character, our integrity, and our purposefulness. Without that, we have nothing. Society is not going to last. We are self-destructing.